Now, the other transaction which concerned me was the one where the account was opened at NCB. It was opened with no money in it. And I didn't know you could open an account with no money in it. A couple of days later, there was a deposit of a little over 143,000 US dollars, which came from SSL. And in the context of the discussions which we have been having about SSL, I believe that the Prime Minister needs to address this and explain how and why that money came into his account from SSL. It was deeply concerning to me, and I'm sure that it must be deeply concerning to all the people who not only lost money, but know people who lost money. And you know the number one concern is what happened to borrowed money.
So by now, everybody's supposed to know, say, Andrew Holiness under investigation for fraud. Andrew Holiness under investigation for illicit enrichment, right? And this fly over everybody head where a report came out where Andrew Holiness transferred 147 million US dollar to a NCB bank account. And he opened that bank account without a dollar. First me say that. Andrew Holiness opened a NCB bank account without a dollar. And a few days later, he transferred 147 million US dollar from SSL to that bank account. Now, knowing what is really going on over there in SSL with the whole fraud thing and all of that, where you're seeing about money missing, other people money missing and all of that, I'm frightened to see people not really take that into consideration and said, oh, so how comes Andrew Holiness transfer $147 million from SSL to his bank account? He should be under investigation, serious investigation for that. Because remember, you know, Usain Bolt money went missing. Whole heap of other people money went missing from SSL, while the government of Jamaica get 147 million US dollar out of SSL. That should raise an alarm. That should make your eyebrow raise. Now, me no care what nobody want to say. All I know is that Andrew Holiness is a white-collar criminal. Andrew Holiness is nothing but a white-collar criminal that is robbing the poor, robbing the people of Jamaica, robbing everyone. When you look and you see this man, he get charity money, right? And him take the charity money to buy a band. You must know, say, this man, no mean the people of Jamaica no good at all. Now, people, leave a like on this video. Give this video a thumbs up right now. Thumbs up the video, people, if you're not thumbs up the video yet. Alright? And put resign in the comment section because we have a lot coming up inside this video. So bless up to my viewers and my subscribers. May hope everybody having a blessed and a wonderful day. Now, my viewers and my subscribers, remember, in everything you do, always put God first. In any situation, just always remember to call upon God. Always remember to pray, because a prayer day keep the devil away. Now, my viewers and my subscribers, Andrew Holiness should go to prison without a doubt. And you see all of them people will get up every day and back him. They should go to prison as well. We have a lot coming up inside this update. So make a run the intro and come back. We're soon forward. So welcome back to my viewers and my subscribers. Big up to all of my viewers. Big up to all of my subscribers. We continually support the channel and help the channel to grow. Now, remember to leave a like on this video. Remember to give this video a thumbs up. Also, if you're new viewers, first time on my channel, then please subscribe to my channel and turn on the post notification bell so whenever we drop new content, you will be first to be notified. Share the content with a friend, a family, a loved one. Share it on your social media platform. So my viewers and my subscribers, oh, remember the little 10-year-old girl where the stepmother take her away from school and slash her throat, allegedly because the father gave her HIV. Now, woman plead guilty to murder of 80-year-old Daniel Rowe. Coyote Scatchell, the woman charged with the stabbing death of 80-year-old Daniel Rowe in June last year, has pleaded guilty to the gruesome murder. The dental assistant was convicted of child stealing for taking the young girl from the Brayton Primary and Infant School in St. Catherine and stabbed her lifeless. Now, this wicked, evil woman, right? A long time she plead guilty, you know. Long time she plead guilty. Because the father do you something. The little baby never do you nothing. And I hope that them send you away for a very, very, very long time. Justice for Daniel Rowe. Justice for Daniel Rowe. Now people state a thought on that down below in the comment section. And as usual, remember, leave a like on this video. Alright, we're moving on. Oh, remember when me did say the government is coming for your land. Oh, remember, the government is coming for your properties. Oh, remember when I told you that if your mother or your granny or your great granny or your grandpa or your father or somebody for you died, right? And they did not write a will for you, the government will be coming for whatever that person left back for you. Oh, remember, me tell you, say the government are come to raid every single soul, you know. And them come to take control of everything. And remember, when the thing did go on over Bernard Lodge, and I said to you all that the government is passing a law where they can come and seize your property if somebody for you die and they did not left a will. But them left a big house with value millions. The government can come and seize it. Oh, remember I told you. Now, I want you all to check out this video right here, right now, people, from Mr. Delroy Chuck.
All estates for persons who died without leaving a will and without minor beneficiaries, but containing personality valued less than 1.5 million, can now be referred to the Administrator General's Department for collection and distribution without the need for a grant of administration. The Administrator General's Department requirements in order to administer these estates are 1. Completed form of particulars, 2. Proof of debt, 3. Proof of asset, that is personality only, valuing less than 1.5 million, and 4. Proof of beneficiary's relationship to the deceased. Mr. Speaker, this decision to increase the limit for small estates to 1.5 million is a significant step that will allow beneficiaries to receive their entitlements in a timely manner. This change will not only facilitate better access to inherited assets for beneficiaries, but also streamline the administration process and reduce the burden on the courts.
Now, I just want to realize, say this government come to take away every single thing from you, This government come to left on was papa. This government come to take one of them. And when you look and you see, them can go lick down people house off of their land and say, oh, this a government land and this and that and us, they don't comfort. Tell me, they will do any single thing in their power to make sure that you stay poor and one at home. This government is a evil and wicked government. Now, imagine my grandmother died and left me a mansion, right? And the government just come pan it up like a feed them it. Pan up a land like say a feed them it. Come seize it and I no feed them. Them don't know how hard your grandparent or your parent work to build a mansion give you. Or if you buy a piece of land that may be valued $8 million or so forth. Right? These people are criminal. They're all criminal. And all I can tell my Jamaican people to do, get your lawyers ready. Because if this government should get another term in office, we will have to run up and down all boat. No mind sure we have to go in the hills, go live. If this government should get one more term. And I know say a lot of people say, shut your mouth, you don't understand what the man say. But if you understand, explain to me why he must say. If you understand, explain to me what him a say. Because exactly what me I say, him a say. I'm going to tell you a long time. Me did tell you a long time before them even start talk about it. Say these people are coming after your asset. Anything that your parent or your grandparent or your great-grandparent died and left for you, if they didn't write any will, you will lose it. Alright? Now people, state a thought and that down below in the comment section. Will you let the government come and take your property? Will you let the government come and take your asset because your grandparent or your parent or anybody for you didn't write a will? Let me know down below in the comment section. Remember, leave a like on this video. Now, I am gonna leave you with this video, people. I want to watch this video. Clearly, Mark Golding and his team are gonna break down the whole Integrity Commission report on Andrew Holiness. So please watch it very carefully. All right, check it out.
We felt it's important to break it down, distill it, so that the public has a better idea of what's actually in it. We'd originally planned to do this live on Tuesday afternoon. After we had sent out our notice that we would be doing this, a notice came out saying that Parliament would be convened for Tuesday. So we decided to pre-record it because we have to attend Parliament on Tuesday afternoon.
So we are here because we want the people to understand what is contained in the report, given the seriousness of what the findings indicate. And we have compiled questions that we have seen on social media and those that have been given to us through WhatsApp messages, etc. Now, on August 31, 2023, Prime Minister Andrew Holiness was told in a face-to-face meeting that he was under investigation for possible illicit enrichment for over a year. And he said nothing whilst maintaining he was unaware of the reason for his declaration not being certified. Senator Motley, what do you make of this?
Well, let me say, first of all, Cleveland, that this is not a happy moment for the People's National Party, and it cannot be a happy moment for the country. Because it is clear, no matter how you look at it, that the Prime Minister has been unable to be certified for a number of years. And in responding to questions asked about it, he said that he did not know why, that he had provided all the information which was required. Now, as it turns out, we can debate the date. He says he was unaware before the 18th of August, but it was clear from the correspondence and the detail which was in the report that he was aware that he was being investigated. The word illicit enrichment, as you said, was used late, in my view, quite late in the investigation. So, Cleveland, a leader is expected to have a higher ethical standard because he or she will have to set the tone for what is right and wrong in the country. And I am of the view that Jamaica should be extremely concerned, no matter which political party you support, that our Prime Minister is under investigation.
I mean, it's very concerning that the decision was communicated in a letter from May 2023. It made reference to Section 14(5) of the Corruption Prevention Act, which is a section that creates the offence of illicit enrichment. A formal notice was, I think, dated August 18th, which made specific reference to the elements of that offence, which is that you have assets which can't be supported by your declared income, and that warrants a request to explain yourself as to how you acquired those assets. He has known this from August last year. So for over a year, he has not come to the country and said, I am under investigation for illicit enrichment, even though the illicit 6 and the fact that there were these investigations of 6 parliamentarians, which became 8 later on, was well known as something that was being discussed constantly in the media and elsewhere. So it was, to my mind, a serious deception of the people to pretend or to hold back the fact that you as Prime Minister were one of the persons being investigated. So this is a big problem in terms of his credibility, his trustworthiness, And I don't think that we can have a leader of our country who has lost the trust and confidence of the people. This is why we're doing this, because we feel it's important that the people of Jamaica understand the seriousness of what is before us. And so the necessary decisions can be made to move the country forward.
I want to bring Member of Parliament Julian into the discussion. The IC in the report stated that the Director of Investigation was unable to arrive at a conclusion because he did not have access to Holiness's personal expenses over the relevant period, along with unresolved questions around the companies that he is connected to.
Well, what he said specifically is that the Prime Minister refused to provide details of his personal expenses over the period of the investigation. And he could not conclude definitively on the issue of illicit enrichment because he needs to match income to expenditure. So here it is that you have a situation where the investigator is prevented from doing his work because the information he needs from the Prime Minister has not been made available to him. He goes on further to say that there are sources of funding for the 3 or 4 companies that the Prime Minister is involved with that he cannot ascertain where the funds have come from. And that is the main reason he has made a referral to the Financial Investigation Division, which investigates financial crimes.
One of the assets that you spoke of a while ago was an asset that Holiness acquired in 2019. And the source of funding for that asset remains unexplained, Senator Bunting.
This is actually one of the more disturbing features, because what the investigation of the Integrity Commission has revealed is that funds were used from a charity. It's called Positive Foundation Jamaica. Positive Jamaica Foundation. A charity which, by definition, would have charitable purposes. And some funds in the region of approximately $32,000 US dollars were diverted to pay for a bond in the name of Mr. Holiness.
Or his company, his personal company.
And I believe at some point it may have been either in his or his personal holding company, which he owns 100%. And it remained in that form for the life of the bond until it was called. And it was only after the bond had been redeemed and that transaction was now, in a sense, extinct.
Is it reasonable
closed? That, just allow me to finish, that upon questioning by the Director of Investigation that an attempt was made to repay that charitable foundation. So approximately 4 years had elapsed when the funds from the charitable foundation had been used to partially pay for a bond in the name of or for the benefit of Mr. Holiness.
And the interest payments on the bond went into him or his personal company's account. And it's only when the Integrity Commission itself looked into this thing and said, hey, but some of the funding for this, 32,000 US of the 94,000 US cost of the bond, came from a charity with which Mr. Holiness is very closely associated and is a director. That the necessary rearrangements of the thing were done and the money was returned to the charity. So for several years, he declared that bond as being his or his company's, and he received the payments under that bond for his or his company's account.
So it is
But
not reasonable to assume that the Prime Minister would not have known that the entirety of the funds that were used to pay for the bond were attributed to him. It's not reasonable.
He had been getting statements regularly, which showed that the entirety of the amount was in a bond in his name or his company.
And the documentation he signed with the broker that he bought the bond through reflected that him or his company as being the purchaser of the bond. But he made the arrangements for the 32,000 to be paid by the charity into the purchase account to buy the bond.
And Leader, this is in the context of legislation which was introduced to prevent exactly that with charities.
If I was a donor to this charity, and was to learn that the charity's resources, which are intended to be for charitable purposes, helping poor people, helping people who are sick or needy, were being used to purchase a financial asset for the Prime Minister or his personal company, I would be very upset about it. And that I know as a fact that foundation receives funding not only from Jamaica but from outside as well. So it's a very serious matter.
Right. A part of the discussion that we have noted in the public domain is where the Director of Corruption Prosecution ruled that there is no evidence to support that the Prime Minister would have omitted willfully and intended to omit information from his statutory declarations. So there are two separate investigations that emanated from the Prime Minister's statutory declarations. I want you to discuss that first and tell us what were those two separate investigations. One relates to the omission of information for which the Director of Corruption Prosecution ruled, and then the second investigation was around illicit enrichment.
Well, I would say on the 4 accounts, there were 2 related to his parents put his name on, one with a former constituency manager and another one. Now, it's important to look at the detail. The Director of Investigation said he brought to Mr. Holiness's attention on 3 occasions that his name was in fact on the accounts. And in spite of that, Mr. Holiness did not declare those as part of his declaration. Secondly, and even more importantly, the Director of Investigation found that in 2 of those accounts, monies were flowing through the accounts from accounts solely controlled by Mr. Holiness and 2 accounts solely controlled by Mr. Holiness. So in essence, he's saying Mr. Holiness said he knew nothing about these accounts, but funds are flowing in the region of millions of dollars. Deposits put in today, taken out the following week. 2 accounts controlled solely by him. So the question is, was Mr. Holiness being truthful when he said, well, it's my parents' account and I don't know anything about it?
I'm seeing a comment here on social media that we just bad mind over this side and that we don't want the Prime Minister to get rich. Is that the case, Comrade Leader?
Well, it's nothing to do with whether the Prime Minister should be rich or not. That's not the issue. The issue is to do with compliance with the requirements of the law relating to integrity. And the statutory declarations that were made in this particular instance omitted certain bank accounts, which at the end of the year, at the date of the declaration, had fairly modest balances, but through which much larger sums had flowed from Mr. Holiness's accounts and to Mr. Holiness's accounts. And that was a basis upon which the Director of Investigations referred it to the corruption prosecutor to say, was this a deliberate falsehood on the declaration? Ultimately, she ruled that could not be proved, and there was no prosecution to flow from that. But this was a relatively small matter in the scheme of this report. The bulk of this report is to do with the companies that Mr. Holiness operates, has invested in or is a director of, assets that they have, the very high volume of transactions between them, and the fact that they are filing tax returns which have suggested that they're dormant or they have no taxable transactions at all, and also investments that have been made using the charities money, and we've discussed that already. So there's a lot in this report which suggests that we need to get to the bottom of this matter. And the decision of the Integrity Commission is that it should be referred to the FID for further investigation, because as Julian said, they can't take it. The Integrity Commission can't take it any further because Mr. Holiness refused to provide information that they required to complete the investigation. I mean, if you 3,600 transactions passing through 28 bank accounts, Mr. Holiness was operating in his own name or the companies that he controlled, 28 bank accounts. And over a 3-year period, 3,600 transactions. This is the Prime Minister who was running the country at the time with some of the most important agencies and public bodies reporting to him. Yet he was conducting these very elaborate financial arrangements.
That's 1,200 transactions a year, which works out to be about, divided by, if you call it 360, that is what? 3-4 transactions a day.
Well, it's only banking days. They
On
can do
banking
transactions.
days, so
That's 250.
Right.
It's 4 transactions.
4 transactions a day going among the 28 accounts. I mean, most people have
Yeah.
2, 3, 4 accounts.
Yeah.
How you keep track of that is
What
you
I
know.
wanted to respond to, because I think among the transactions, what is interesting is that 20 cardless cash deposits totaling 4,565,000 were made to Holiness's JN bank account between May and July of 2020. The depositor is unknown.
Yes.
And what was the explanation given? Reimbursement from Norman Brown, shareholder of Estate Bridge. Senator Boynton, is this a reasonable explanation?
But I can tell you, as someone who has spent a large part of my career in the financial sector, that type of transaction is what bankers or financial sector employees are trained to raise a red flag about. It matches what would be called structuring, where you break a larger transaction, in this case a total of 4.6 million, into small transactions which are, or smaller transactions which are below the reporting threshold. However, one of the things you're also trained to do is to look for what are called high-risk customers. And so, for example, all of us who are in parliament or in politics are referred to as politically exposed persons, or PEPs, and should attract closer scrutiny than the average customer. So this series of transactions would match what is called structuring, and you're trained in your anti-money laundering training, all frontline staff of the banks, the compliance people, etc., to look out for these transactions. Not necessarily illegal, but it's a red flag. And then an obligation would be on the bank to either report it to the FID as a suspicious set of transactions, or to get a plausible explanation from the account holder. In this case, two sources of these series of 20 cash transactions. One was that Mr. Holiness's business partner in Estate Bridge and the chairman of UDC owed
and
him,
HAJ.
and Housing Association of Jamaica owed him some money. But to me, to suggest that somebody at the level of a chairman of UDC, who I'm certain either has a checkbook or an online banking facility or a banking app, is going to get up from his desk somewhere close to 20 times over the period of 3 months and go to an ATM
To
lodge cash, it doesn't seem plausible to me. The other source was rent of a Mona property, I think it was referred to. Now, unless you're operating some sort of back road operation, usually rent is collected once a month. So that would, I imagine, only account for a small number of the total transactions. So even if that were the case, there's still a lot to be explained, and it would, and I can speculate that this is probably one of the reasons why a referral has been made to the FID. It's I think that's a fair comment, because every person who is trained in anti-money laundering or sensitized to money laundering would quickly be able to pick up that this is one of those red flag transactions.
That transaction disturbed me for the reasons that Peter outlined, and because also, even with attorneys, there are certain obligations now which you have, because you're supposed to look at a transaction like that and actually report on it. Now, the other transaction which concerned me was the one where the account was opened at NCB.
Mm-hmm.
It was opened with no money in it. And I didn't know you could open an account with no money in it. A couple of days later, there was a deposit of a little over $143,000 US, which came from SSL.
Mm-hmm.
And in the context of the discussions which we have been having about SSL, I believe that the Prime Minister needs to address this and explain how and why that money came into his account from SSL. It was deeply concerning to me, and I'm sure that it must be deeply concerning to all the people who not only lost money, but know people who lost money. And the number one concern is what happened to borrowed money. Now, I'm not casting any aspersions on this situation. I'm just simply saying that the Prime Minister has to have a level of political sensitivity, and he has a duty to come to the country and explain some of these transactions to which we have been alerted by this report.
And Comrade Leader, at the press conference that was held last week, you raised the issue of tax compliance and why it is troubling. For our viewers who might not have read the report or understand the issues surrounding tax compliance, I want you to explain it for them and why it's a problem.
Well, the report indicates that the tax returns for Mr. Holiness's private companies, in one called Imperium that he owns 100% of, and the others that are referred to in the report, for the 2021 year of assessment, financial year, they filed nil returns, meaning that they declared no taxable income and no taxable expenses, tax deductible expenses. Now, that the report says is inconsistent with the information provided to the Integrity Commission by Mr. Holiness, which shows that these companies were in fact very active. They had receipts, they had expenditures. As I've said, over 400 million of transactions over the period was passing between these companies, to and fro. So, and the report makes specific reference to items of income that were earned during the period. So the report makes reference to a provision in the Income Tax Act, which makes it a criminal offense not to accurately report one's taxable income when you're filing returns. So this is another very serious matter. The Prime Minister is the head of the government, and you should not be filing tax returns which are not consistent with the reality of the transactions of those companies. So this is a big issue as well.
Some of the concerns that we have seen in the public domain is that these two institutions to which the report from the Integrity Commission is referred to, Tax Administration Jamaica and the Financial Investigation Division, they both fall under the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service. The Minister reports to the Prime Minister. There's a sense of public concern that there might be interference or obstruction of the investigation. Senator Bunting, is that a legitimate position for members of the public to take?
Absolutely. The Prime Minister uses his own standard. When his ministers got into trouble, Wheatley, Royal Reid,
Lloyd Green.
Floyd. Well, no.
Floyd was a little different.
That was a little different. He got into trouble.
He was put in
St. Elizabeth.
He was put in the Nautic one.
J.C. Hutchinson.
J.C. Hutchinson. He told them they had to step aside. They had to leave the cabinet because it would not have been appropriate for them to remain and perhaps and have the risk or the perception that they could obstruct the investigation. Now, there's no minister in a stronger position to obstruct an investigation than the Prime Minister himself. He, for example, is going to determine who the replacement Minister of Finance will be. He, under whose portfolio the FID falls. The FID right now does not have a permanent chief technical director, I believe the post is called, or technical director. The head of FID was Selvin Hay, who retired a couple months ago. So it only has an acting head now. So there is not even any security of tenure for who is there. So the Minister of Finance is going to be very carefully selected. Let me just say that. We can expect that he or she will be very carefully selected. But I think the public is right to be concerned. I think any well-thinking person would be concerned. You cannot investigate yourself, or you cannot oversee those who are investigating you. That's just a basic principle. And we've seen over and over again where persons whether in the private or public sector, that find themselves in such a position have to step aside to allow the investigation to be complete.
Some contend that he has not broken any code of ethics and therefore he should not step aside. In fact, some go as far as to say that he has been vindicated, given that the Integrity Commission engaged an international forensic accounting firm. They found nothing.
That's
And-
not true.
No,
That's not true.
That's what
That's
he
not
said.
true.
So I want you to engage
No,
with
no,
that
they
perspective.
have. In fact, I would say the fact that the report has not been released, in my view, indicates to me that there may be potential down the road for the possibility of prosecution. And in any investigation, if you have that kind of information, you're not going to put it in the public domain. And we have to, and in fact, I think, again, it is in support of the director of investigation saying, let us refer it to the FID. And I'm sure in their exchange of information, they have an MOU that they will provide as much information to the FID so that the FID can come to a conclusion about
And
illicit
they're
enrichment.
not restricted to providing the information in the public report. Their MOU allows them to exchange the
Yes,
report of the forensic investigator, anything else that they have.
And it may well be that a lot of the information that we have here on the details of the transactions that the companies have entered into, that the forensic investigation that was done was helpful in getting some of this information. But as has been said, it's not sufficient to conclude the investigation, and it needs to be concluded. Why? Because the Prime Minister remains under a cloud. His Integrity Commission statutory declarations from 2021 onwards have not been certified. And the report indicates that they cannot be certified until the Integrity Commission is satisfied that they are in order. So it's very important that this matter be allowed to come to a conclusion. And I think it's reprehensible, the initial responses that we're hearing from the government side, suggesting that as far as they're concerned, this matter is at an end. It should not be referred any further and so on. They're going to leave the Prime Minister under a cloud unless they let this matter be followed through to its end. And so I don't think that their responses really are helpful to his situation at all.
To me, they should be asking everybody to act hastily,
Yes.
especially if they believe in his innocence, so that he can be cleared.
There is conflict of interest. So the Prime Minister appointed his business partner and co-investor in his real estate company, Norman Brown, to the chairmanship of UDC and the Housing Association of Jamaica, which both, as Senator Bunting said, fall under the Prime Minister's portfolio. Why is there a conflict here?
Well, let's just say it. The UDC and
Now, people, the video is very long, so I am going to cut it right here and put out part 2 later on today. So if you want to watch the full video, I am going to put out part 2. So stay tuned for the other part. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed as yet. You will get more information on the Prime Minister statutory declaration and his fraudulent money laundering that is going on. All right, so people, remember to leave a like on this video, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed as yet. All right, big up. I'm out.